Hello and welcome to Gabe's Page. You gotta change it up. You know what I'm saying? You can't say the same thing every time. We're gonna kick off in a minute. We are here for our regularly scheduled program we call Let's Chat. We have a discussion. Of course, you may hear me talking, but we look for you to respond via typing something in the comment section. So we're hoping that you will feel free to join in this evening. And we'll give it about a minute or so, send out that notification and let you know we're here. If you're watching via Facebook, I do have it up and so I can see your comments and that type of thing. If you're watching via YouTube, our business channel, please feel free to comment as well. I guess it would be wise for you to. I can see those comments, but I wouldn't necessarily be able to respond via typing like I could on Facebook. But anyway, it's 9 Central Standard Time. You know me, I'm going to dive right in. People will come as they come. Uh, I've been told they gave up watching, but I just always make myself known. I do know that on Facebook that it's very possible to do. So I won't dilly dally and waste your time. With that being said, let's chat, shall we? So tonight we're going to talk about others, as you can clearly see in the description. If you didn't read the description that the kind of workup for this to give you some idea of where we're going to go, please feel free to take a quick minute and go and take a look at that. And it'll give you some understand. I like to do that just to really kind of introduce the topic to you so you have some idea of where we're going. Also, if you like to contribute to the topic, you feel like it's an interesting topic, if you like to share, which we hope you will feel comfortable with doing this onto your page, please feel free to do that. I want to make an announcement. I don't normally do this, but this conversation tonight is really going to be kind of just laying a foundation. I want you to stay with me if you're watching. If you're watching this back, please watch all the way through. But I want to lay a bit of a foundation just dealing with the idea of others in a community because we're going to cover far more heavier subject matter over the next couple of weeks. I won't introduce that right now because I don't want to turn our attention to that. But I'll introduce it if I remember at the end of this broadcast, and of course I'll do a post probably Tuesday or Wednesday next week to tell you what's coming. But I mean, they're going to be pretty weighty and pretty heavy, pretty serious topics, and we're looking forward to engaging those. But tonight, I want to talk about others. And I at my son's soccer practice and kind of did a little walking while they were practicing, and gave some thought to this. Once I kind of come up with the idea, I think about it off and on. I try not to go too deep into it. Uh, uh, so when I get up to the day before, the day of, then I really focus in so you understand kind of how I work. These are not subject matters that I study out. That's not how this works. This is just really a discussion. I consider myself a person who has some general knowledge about quite a few things. And so I leave it like that because I don't want to, like I'm some expert on everything. No, I leave it in a way where you can come to the table and bring your view, your position, your thought to it. That being said, the things that I do say, I have given thought to, I am familiar with, I have some knowledge of. I try to talk in general terms, and not get too overly specific. I'll share matters about me as to give you some kind of substance or give you some kind of examples, right, to work with. But that's more or less it. Now again, just kind of mentioning next week and week after are going to be very heavy topics. I won't be doing a lot of examples in those topics. When you find out what it is, you'll understand why. But I think it's time. I think we're more mature enough to be able to handle something very meaty. I have done some pretty intense topics as well, but I think it's time to do something that might kind of get next to you. But I want to use again tonight to set some foundation for that. And I think the best way to do that is to deal with our topic of others, and in particular, as it pertains to community. Now, if you just, joining my Facebook page or just following me on YouTube for the first time, I've been doing these broadcasts, you know, about a year, over a year, right? And so I've done things on community. It's a word I like to use. My working definition, is essentially anyone within your space, from your living space, family, friends, whoever lives with you, and then from there on, people potentially in your neighborhood that you may interact with. It's kind of important that you're interacting with them in some form, even if it's not constant. But from there on out, grocery stores, gas stations, uh, places of worship, if that's what you're into, social places. My son goes to school, so he has, of course, that's a part of his community. His soccer team, that's a part of our community, because I'm taking him to soccer practice or to games and things of that nature, as well as his mother does that also. So community is really the people that you more or less, to one degree or another, interact with. Now, you have another word, society, right? And what I pretty much defines it, now there's far more elaborate definitions and on and on and on, but I pretty much call society a collection of communities. So I live in Bossier City. I go to fellowship and worship in Shreveport, Shreve City in particular. So I'm in a community of people, right? And that community rests within the society that is Louisiana, that is the United States, either world, right? So you understand. I want to kind of give you that so you understand how we're working, how we're looking at this. Okay, got that. So when we say community, looking at the world through the lens called community, I really want you to think about those people. Now, you may only interact with just a handful of people, your children, your grandchildren, your spouse, your boyfriend, girlfriend. I won't get too much into all of that. However, that looks to you, and I've said this on other broadcasts, right? Be thinking about your, not society. That's too big. That's too big for all of us. Yes, we want to be, now you may be a person who's connected. Now, I am connected on Facebook. That's a community, right? Social media community. And I have people that I'm connected to and have some measure of communication with, to one degree or another, with people who live in other nations, via my faith in God and all of that. So I consider them a part of my community. I don't consider their entire nation a part of my community, but I consider them a part of my community. They have some impact on my learning. There's some communication. There are some people who live in other states here in the United States. Some I grew up with, some who are family, and I have some ongoing communication with. So I consider them, if I have some interaction, communication, otherwise, a part of my community. And thanks to social media, thanks to the World Wide Web, obviously here I am speaking potentially to over 900, almost 1,000. Now, of course, some of these are duplicates, so about over 900 Facebook accounts, and then there's several people connected to me on YouTube, and maybe an overlap. So I have a pretty nice sized community that I interact with on some level, right? That you don't assume that everybody's on the same level, which brings me to, now that we've got the definition and the working definition of community and society done, it brings me to really what I want to talk about tonight. We may not even use the entire hour. I want to talk about others, not us, others. Now, we've talked about community and we put the focus on us relative to the community, but I want us to put the focus on the others in the community. So again, unless you live by yourself, If you have even one person who lives with you, I don't care what their situation is, that means you have at least one person that you will acknowledge is in your community. You see how this works? And I want to talk about them. I want you to set your focus on those people who make up whatever you define as your community. Okay, hopefully you got that. If you're just joining, we're talking about community, and in particular, the others in that community. And what I want to deal with tonight, and I have my write-up in front of me, here's what it said for the most part. What is undeniable is that others play a role on one level or another in our lives. Of course, not everyone can be valued the same, but they must be valued nonetheless. We'll do that one again. Not everyone in our community, however you define that, can be valued the same, but they must be valued nonetheless. Nonetheless, the people in your community, however, I want to be so clear with this that there's no mistaking what I'm saying. The people in your community must be valued. Now, they can't be valued the same. You're not going to value your neighbors the same as your spouse or your children, right? Or your siblings. You're not going to value them the same. The level of communication. What do you mean by value? Let me do it this way. What significance do you give them in terms of your interaction with them in the community? There are some in your communities within society that you interact with constantly, daily, hourly. There are some you interact with in passing. Hey, neighbor. Hey, how you doing? I'm well. You get the point? Some people you interact with once, and like going to the grocery store. You don't always go at the same time. Maybe you are a creature of habit. I'm somewhat a creature of habit. So I can almost tell who's working in some places if their schedule that I go to, if their schedule stay fairly consistent, such as when I go to the gym tomorrow morning, I have a pretty good idea who's going to be working the counter. That person works regularly when I go in. They're working. I'm not saying they're always there. I don't always go the same day at the same time. If my schedule requires me to change, then I don't always see that person. The manager usually comes, depending on what time I go, the manager will usually come in, so I'm familiar with him. Now, I have never had a conversation outside of when I originally signed up with him. I have never had a conversation with the young lady who's working behind the counter other than good morning to you, enjoy your workout, thank you very much. But there is some interaction, and so there should be some value placed there. She is another, he is another. Get where I'm going? Stay with me. Stay with me now. I'm just laying some foundation. Why is this conversation important? Well, unless you've been in a coma for about a year and a half, we all know, whether we want to know it or not. I know we're tired of hearing about it, but I'm gonna bring it up. We know we're in what's called a pandemic. About a year ago, I literally heard one lady in particular. I actually heard many people, but I heard one lady in particular, maybe a little less than a year, flat out say, "I think the pandemic is not real." The place that I go to worship on a Thursday evening, we're getting ready to have rehearsal. Not quite a year yet, and I haven't seen her in months and months and months. I haven't seen her at all in 2021. She only came for a brief time. She never actually sung with the praise team. Matter of fact, it hasn't been a year, because I know not we all, but most of us had gotten COVID. That was in November. So she came not long after we had gotten over it. We had started back having service. She was only there briefly. I don't know if anybody even knew her. Apparently she could play instruments and sing and do all of this. So the pastor invited us, sure, come on, join us. So She came to a rehearsal or two, maybe just one, I can't remember. And while we were just kind of getting ourselves gathering and getting ourselves ready for rehearsal, we all just overcame COVID. So we were asking each other, how are you doing? I had it. Another 8, 9 people had it. So how are you? Oh, we're doing. What was your symptoms? Oh, my symptoms was this. Oh, my symptoms were this. Nobody had any major symptoms, thank God. We all came through it. Uh, 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 and she, now we don't know her, but she makes the statement. I believe essentially it's all basically a conspiracy. It's all a conspiracy. And we just looked at each other. So I spoke up and said, well, some of us actually did get COVID. Oh, well, I'm not saying that like the sickness is not real, but I'm just saying that I believe that this whole pandemic thing is something that people came up with. Now, we don't know her. We are Christians. I can't speak for my fellow praise and worship people, but in my head, clearly I was thinking, I think she might be slightly misguided. On and on and on and on, right? Didn't say anything else about it. We had rehearsal. She was a part of it. She didn't show up for the performance on Sunday. We never really saw her again, honestly. I don't remember seeing her again. So just in passing, just somebody in passing who interjected her view despite hearing us say we had COVID. She was, catch my point, an other. She was not a standing other. She was not a lasting other. She did not continue to be a part of that fellowship or of that interaction. She was only there once or twice. But she spoke. And when she spoke, she gave her opinion, but that opinion had impact on some level to the individuals who were listening to her, especially since I know myself and a couple of other people had just gotten over the coronavirus. Now, that's a pretty light example, but do you kind of get the point? My son and I stopped by the store after picking him up from school to get some stuff for dinner tonight. And as we're leaving the parking lot, there must have been a fender bender. A gentleman was looking at his front fender, and a lady was waiting to get his insurance, assuming he hit her or whatever the case may be. Don't know. So they now, even though they're not a lasting part of each other's community, if they file a claim, there's going to be some interaction, at least between the insurance companies. Do you understand what I mean? So there are ongoing, now, of course, when we say community, we tend to think the people that we interact with the most, typically. And I'm going to show you why that might not be the best way to really think about it in a moment. But I want to just lay this foundation. I want you to understand that we're not living autonomously. If you're watching me live or watching this back, you clearly understand there is at least somebody else on this planet but you. And I think the pandemic, if nothing else, has mandated that we start thinking about others. We start thinking about others. Now, look, you know me. This is not about being a Christian exclusively, but let me speak to my brothers and sisters in Christ, in that community. I hope if you are a true born-again believer in Jesus Christ, that this is not foreign to you. I hope that what I've said to this point is not strange to you, especially when the book we both read says that we are supposed to be helpers one to another. So I hope the notion of others and the idea of community is not foreign to you. I hope that's not, because if it is, we got a problem. Set the interest of others equal to yourself. And really, the suggestion that Paul gives, and I'm done with this, is greater than yourself. greater than yourself. So please understand that if you're a Christian, I'm right in your wheelhouse. This should make perfect sense to you. Enough of that. All right. So I want to talk about our value system, because what coronavirus has done, if nothing else, is expose what I think most of us, if we just come on, can we talk plain? Can we talk plain and just get honest about some things? The fact is, if you live in the United States of America, and I'm sure it's true in other nations, we don't always value one another. Even in the same house, we don't always show respect and honor to one another. We don't always want to give deference to one another. We don't want to care that there are other people in our communities. And remember, communities make up society. Now, I can go off into a lot of different things here. I'm going to try to keep it general, because then next week we're going to get real specific. But I want to talk about the devaluing that we see, not just during coronavirus. No. I mean, all my life. And I'm not crazy enough to believe it just started when I was born. I'm sure long before I was born, and unfortunately, well after I'm gone. There is a unfortunate devaluing of others. Why is that even an issue, Mr. Matthews? Why do you care? Good night, son. Why do you care? Why do you want to do a topic like this? Why do you do these topics? You know why I do these topics? Because of what I'm talking about tonight? Because I value you. I don't have hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of views. I'm not trying to be a YouTuber and make money off YouTube. I'm not trying to go viral. I've been doing this over a year, and I've been really broadcasting live for about 4 years, steady. And I probably never had even 100 views. Well, okay, my stuff I did for Journey Church, but I don't think I've even had 100 views or 50 views or 25 views, maybe on anything I've done. That's not my goal. Just because I'm sitting in front of a camera doesn't mean my goal is to try to get as many people watching me as I possibly can. I don't think I'm useful just because I get 1,000 people watching me or 10,000. And I'm not knocking that. There are people who I watch, who I learn from, who don't know me personally, but they are a part of my community. I call it my learning community. I'm growing because of them. I'm learning. They are what I call silent mentors, in so much as we don't know each other, right? But I'm learning from them. I'm growing from them. Now, some of them are familiar with me. I've actually had some communication with them thanks to social media. They don't even live anywhere near me. One of them lives in Jamaica. Yeah, I said it, Jamaica. He's on my Facebook, and I follow him on YouTube. And he's been tremendous in my growth. So understand, but watch this now. When I talk about value, I'm not talking about what we get from people. Let that sink in for a second. Now we might step on a toe or two. See, when we start thinking about how we value people, we tend to think about, do you see things the way I want you to? Did you give me something? Did you say thank you? Did you open a door for me? A woman to a man. Well, he didn't open the door for me. Where's his, he's not a gentleman. He's not a gentleman. He wasn't raised right. He didn't do something for me. And I'm not knocking that. I open the door for men and women. I've said that before. But sometimes somebody has got to take a chance and get in front of a camera or do a TED talk. I don't know, but say something about the fact that people should be valued. Watch this, because they're people. Because they're people. That if you do your history, American history, world history, what you're going to find is whenever you see us, listen to me now, you see a society devalue people that they don't believe is worthy of being in their community. It ain't long before you see that society unravel. And unless your head has been buried in the sand, or you've been in a coma, or you've been sitting on some remote island, just you, yourself, and you, then you haven't paid attention, because there's been a ton of devaluing going on in the last 400 years in this country. Oh, you thought I was going to say year and a half? For the last 402 years, there has been a devaluing of humanity, of human life. And we're still seeing it. We're still seeing it. Now, you don't need me to say it about January 6th, do you? You don't need me to bring up racism, do you? You don't need me to bring up misogyny. You don't need me to bring up women's rights. You don't need me to bring up these things. Come on. Come on. We're all grown people. Let's talk for a minute. Why are those things even subjects, Gabe? Why are those things even still noteworthy? Why would you even say racism now, right? We don't have racism in this country. Really? Really? Come on. Really? So the reality of it is, I shouldn't even have to go into those things. Now, we might look at those things as societal, but I want to shrink it down to your community. I want to shrink it down to your children. Wait a minute, Gabe, I value my children. I want to shrink it down to your grandchildren. Gabe, I love my grandkids. I want to shrink it down to your spiritual leaders, if that's what you do. I want to bring it down to the people in the grocery stores. I want to bring it down to the people who are working behind the food counters. Now, let me slap us all. Let me slap us all. If you're saying something along these lines, me and mine only, you're lying to yourself, or you're delusional. There is no such thing as me and mine only. And you know that to be true. Let me go ahead and slap you. You ready? You ready? Come on, come on. Put your face out there for me. How is it just you and yours? Are you the sole teacher of your children and grandchildren? No, they go to school. They go to school. So immediately when they leave out of your car or out of your house and they get on a school bus or they walk into a school campus, I would advise you to give value to the teachers, to the principals, to the custodians. Well, they're valuable too. To the daycare providers. Oh, you don't like that? You don't like that? Oh, okay. How about the people, when you go, do you cook all your meals? Do you cook all your meals? Or do you go to restaurants? Do you grow all your own vegetables, or do you go to grocery stores? Come on, come on, come on, come on. Let's talk. Let's chat. Let's chat. If you think it's all about you and yours, me and mine only, where you live? You live out in the middle of nowhere? No. Did you know there are ordinances for which you have to honor them in respects to your neighbors? See, I'm not talking about value them because of what they give you necessarily, but you have to recognize that in a community, you don't live in isolation. No matter how much you may like to be a homebody, you don't live in isolation. Right now, I got electricity in my home. Do you think I work for the electric company? Do you think I work for the electric company that's providing me the electricity for my home? No. If something goes wrong in my home, I have to contact the rental location so they can send a maintenance person. And when the maintenance person comes into my house, do you think I'm sitting there, hey man, excuse me, ma'am, I don't value you. I won't give you any value in my mind until you fix my thing. You're only as valuable as your ability to fix my whatever's broken. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? See, we live in this global society within the confines of our community. How about the stuff you're posting and the stuff other people are posting on social media? Oh, I don't care, Gabe. I don't read nobody else's page. How are you watching me? How you watching me if you don't care what anybody else is saying? But you're gonna turn me off. I get it, but you watch me to this point. If you click on my picture, you're paying attention to someone other than you and yours because I don't belong to you. I don't belong to you. So this notion that when it's convenient, you like to let everybody know in the world and on social media that, hey, it's all about me and mine and my two and my two only, my four only. You're lying because you're not paying yourself. You don't cut your own check unless you're your own boss. And if you're your own boss, don't you got customers? Don't you care about your customers? How is it just you and you only? How? Do you need me to give you another example? Oh, I got 100 of them. I could do this all night and not even blink. People have to matter. People have others. Let me call them others. Others have to matter. They have to, because you're not living in a bubble. And if you're living in a bubble, did you put yourself in that bubble? Did you create that bubble? How do you feed yourself in that bubble? How do you take care of yourself in that bubble? Do you have aging parents that are living in a nursing home? Do you work in that nursing home? Are you the one looking in on your mother, your father, your grandmother, your grandfather? Are you the one providing the direct care? Are you the one lifting them out of the beds? Are you the one turning them so they don't get bad sores? Are you the one wiping their backside in the nursing care facility? So it's not just you and yours. See, we can't keep saying and thinking these things. Where did you get that idea in the first place? Because somebody hurt you? Okay, gonna get deep all in your business. I'm in your business now because somebody hurt you. So you just drew your family close to you, and it's just me and my family only because you got hurt one time. Is that what you did? So you just drew everybody to you, and that's it. It's all just me and mine. You're raising your children to be scared of the world that they have to go into if they're going to work jobs, if they're going to get education. Yeah, I know we're in a pandemic, but at some point or another, we don't have to leave our houses. At some point or another, we got to go and got to work or do something. So this notion that it's just me and mine, and that's all, is a lie. It's delusional. It's a joke. And whatever you're trying to say to yourself to self-protect, you don't like what I'm saying now. But whatever you're telling yourself, you know it's not true because you're not cutting your own check. You didn't grow your own vegetables. You didn't make your own toilet paper. You didn't make your own paper towels. You come on. When you order from DoorDash, somebody at the restaurant is making it for you. Somebody is providing the internet service that you're watching me on. If all those people quit, you no longer, I don't care if you got a 4G, 5G, if you got an iPhone 22,000, it doesn't matter if all the people at AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, and all the rest of them suddenly say, I quit. I quit. I'm done. You no longer have service. You're done. I don't care if you paid up your bill for a year in advance. If they all quit, guess what? Nobody's pushing the buttons. Nobody's making your service run. You no longer have service. So others are starting to look a whole lot better, aren't they? Aren't they? Now, that's not even what I want to talk about tonight, but I have to make this case. I almost got to preach it to you because I'm watching people devalue each other online and offline. I see it all the time. I see it all the time. I don't know where you are. I don't know what you're seeing. Maybe you're not, maybe you don't want, you got on rose-colored glasses. You're wearing blinders. You just don't want to see it. You don't want to hear your friend talking about how her husband doesn't seem to respect her. You don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear your children talking about the fact that they think their teachers are mistreating them because hey, you got to go to work. Hey, y'all figure it out. I got to go to work. You don't want to hear somebody in the neighborhood complaining about this, that, and the other, because you don't want to give any care and concern to what their issues are. You don't want the text messages to come. You don't want the phone to ring, because then you might have to care about others. You may have to, here's what I want to talk about. You may have to show and give value to others. Not because of what they've done or can do for you. Oh, Gabe, no, please, not that. Not that. Why do I have to show value to others? I don't want to show value to others, Gabe, unless they do something for me. I don't mind paying a service fee. Somebody cut my son's hair just a couple of days ago. I gave them some money. Oh, yeah, Gabe, see, I don't have no problem with that. I understand that, because, we all got to make some money. Yeah, but that seems to be all you care about. That's all we care about, is I get goods and services, barter and trade. I only want to show a minimal amount of care and concern for those people for which I give them something, they give me something. Oh, come on, fellas. I took her out on a date, so therefore I should get XYZ. Right? Right? I know it still happens. I ain't stupid. I know it still happens. I provided you a meal, not that she couldn't feed herself, but I provided you a meal and a night out somewhere. So where's my second base, third base? He didn't value her. He valued what he could get from her. Are you seeing where I'm going with this? Is it starting to make sense? Gabe, well, how do we show people value in our community without getting something in return? That's a great question. I would love to hear what you think. Give me some idea. I'm putting a question out there. How do we show value to others without having to get something from them in return? Even the Bible says it is better to give than to receive. The Bible talks about giving with no expectation of receiving, in particular, from the person that you gave to. I was at Subway on Tuesday evening after teaching. I teach on Tuesday nights on my Victory in Christ channel, broadcast channel on YouTube and Facebook. And not this week, last week. A gentleman was there, so happened to be Caucasian, African American. A woman was behind him, and you got to put the distancing and all that. And so he got up to the counter. He's ordered his sandwich. He turns to the lady who's working and says, "I got her." Doesn't know her, apparently. I got her. She said, "Oh no, you're okay." He said, "No, I got you." So whatever that sandwich is, I got it. Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna get me a drink. Ma'am, you want a drink? No, I'm good. Chips? Hey, I got you. Come on. Chips, drink. This is not a date. He wasn't treating her to a meal in terms of a date. This was a man in line who, for whatever reason, decided, watch this, to show that lady value. He decided to with his money to give some value to technically a stranger, from what I gather, but she was in his community. They're at the same Subway, and Subway is everywhere. So most people go to the Subways in their community. So this man saw this woman in his community. He apparently didn't know. I don't know 100%, but it looks like he didn't know, just the way they were interacting. And he said, "I got it." He showed value in her. But wait. It wasn't the cost of the sandwich. She didn't want chips and drink, cookies or whatever. It was, she's a human being. You mean to tell me, Gabe, this is what this is about? Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely. Because, and the reason why I pointed out that he's white and she's black is because to me, racism, bigotry, prejudice, misogyny, all of that is driven by a refusal to acknowledge the most basic truth. We are all human beings. So when you say my three and that's all, and you mean that just in everything, I don't mean you said that when you were just talking about dinner tonight and somebody was like, hey girl, get me. And he's like, no, just my three, me and my three. I get that. I mean, if you hold on to an ideology, a philosophy where I don't care what happens in the world, it's only about my three and mine, or my two, or my family only, exclusively, my besties, my wife, my husband, period, as if the only people you interact with are those individuals. Here's what I really believe, and I hope somebody give me some pushback on this. I believe that if that's an ideology that you hold on to, that you probably, first of all, don't really value those people as much as you say. What you mean, Gabe? I mean, you only value them according to how you choose to see them. So if my daughter gets wayward with me, I'm now going to devalue her. If my grandson doesn't become what I want him to become, I might not want to talk to him. If he doesn't greet me exactly in the manner in which I told him, I might start choosing to devalue him. Now, I may have to discipline him, and you discipline him because you value him. What keeps you from killing the kid? You value their life, their basic human life. Do you get it now? I wanted to talk about others because I really want to talk about, do we have a real value? Do we put a real premium on the lives of others? Do we really care that other people around us are even actually alive? Gabe, are you serious? Yes, I'm dead serious. Because let's be honest, and as much as I don't like wearing masks, I've been vaccinated, but I put on a mask. I make my son, now he's not 12 yet, I make my son wear his mask. And I hope that he is respectful and conscientious enough to do that when he's not in my company or in his mother's company. When he is out and about at school, I hope he wears his mask. If nothing else, I hope he shows value in others, not just because it's safe for him, but I hope that he has enough respect for human life that he would want to show value to others. That's my hope for an 11-year-old. So how much more for an 18-year-old, for a 28-year-old, for a 38-year-old, for a 48-year-old, for a 58, 68, 78, 88, 98, 108, and all the ages in between. 18 until the oldest person on the planet. How much more should we, who classify ourselves as adults, set a premium on the lives of others? That before they do anything for us, even if they do nothing for us, we show value. And how we show value? We show respect. How we show value? When we cough, we cover our mouths. How we show value? When we sneeze, we cover our mouths. Whether we like masks or not, the reason why we teach cover your mouth is because there are other people who are just as valuable as we are. I know you never heard it that way, but that's what you taught your children when you taught them it is right, it is polite to cover your mouth when you cough and when you sneeze. What you were saying is there are other people in your space, in your community that have value as well, and you don't want them to get sick. The reason why you should take your sick days, you workaholics, is because you may have a sickness that is contagious, not just coronavirus. The flu is contagious. And you don't want to get other people sick, right? Do you only value yourself so you don't care to go to work and be coughing and sneezing into the atmosphere that other people have to breathe in? You don't care enough about others that you're willing, because you got to get your mighty dollar. Your dollar is more important than making other people sick. You driving like a bat out of hell is more important to get to your destination faster than the speed limit prescribes. So you're willing to put not only you, but other people in danger because you've got to get to your destination fast or faster. The speed limit says 35, but you've got to get there in the time it would take to go 65. Ain't nobody gonna talk to me, but I'm gonna talk to you. I still got a few minutes. Do we value others? There's another reason why I believe this topic is extremely important. We're gonna get to next week. But I believe this conversation is extremely important because whether we want to admit it or not, life and death is not strictly left up to us. Let me let that sink in. Think about it for a second. Life and death is not strictly left up to us. 600 and almost 700,000, listen to me. If this don't shake you up, I don't know what else will. Nearly 700,000 people in 1.5 years have died from one cause, coronavirus. Wait. Don't say nothing. Wait. And the only way they got it was through another person. Did I make my case now? If you don't think others matter, almost 700,000 people in the United States alone have died from a plague that they got from somebody else. So if you don't think this conversation is worth your time, if you don't think you need to share this video with as many others as you can, let me say it one more time. Nearly 700,000 people have died from one cause only. And this cause alone, they had to get, not from a monkey, not from a bat. I don't care what the conspiracy theories say. They didn't go over to China, to Wuhan, China. No, they got it from somebody in and around the United States, and more importantly, in their community. Others matter. So to the point that nearly 1 million people are dead. See, you hear those numbers and you go, oh, but you don't think about the fact that those people were very much alive 2 years ago. Now, some of the older people may have been at a place in their life with other health issues, but it didn't change the fact that they were at least alive. Now, their life quality because of their health, okay, I get you, may not have been good. But you understand that the impact others have can be literally deadly. Okay, let's move away from that. No. Let me give you this one. I just heard this one today. More first responders, including police officers. The number one killer in America as of today of police officers is no longer gun violence. It is no longer being stabbed, car accidents. It is the coronavirus. Has killed more first responders than anything else. But you may not think that you getting a vaccine is up to anyone else. That's all about you. You think, hey, not only do I not want to get a vaccine, I don't even want to get a shot. A shot, but I don't even want to wear a mask. You're proving that you don't value other people. You are proving that life doesn't matter to you, especially the lives of others. But let's move away from that. Let's talk about domestic violence. Let's talk about the man who beats his wife, who abuses his children. Oh, we're going to get on this next week. I'm just talking in general. You don't value your wife, your children. How about the wife? How about the mother? How about the girlfriend? Whatever relational title you have, who doesn't have enough value? Who doesn't have enough value? Who doesn't see their children with any value? How about the parents who just let their children just be disrespectful to whoever, and will even have the nerve to protect them when somebody tries to correct them? They don't value their children at all, because eventually their children will grow up and they will step into society. And eventually, given enough time, that mother, that father, no matter what their social economic standing, won't be able to protect them because they're going to die. They're going to get old first and then die. And that child who will be grown will outlive them, possibly. And if they don't learn how to value other people, you can see why this can get really, really, really serious and extremely dangerous. If we don't start giving respect to humanity, yeah, but Gabe, people cut me off on the road and I want to flip them the bird. Yeah, Gabe, you don't understand. My husband was rude and crude. My wife was this and that. My children don't always listen to me. My grandkids are crazy. My teachers don't like me. My students don't respect me. The police department don't like me. I don't like the police department. Whatever. I hear you. I've experienced some of that myself. And I'm sitting here telling you I'm a part of this situation. But before anyone can show me value, I'm going to have to decide in myself, because I don't control what anybody else does. When I look across at the lady at the grocery store, whether she has a mask on or not, whether she's social distancing or not, whether she's being rude or not, it's not what she's doing first. It's what I'm doing. Am I showing her as a person in her community? Now, look, I'm not going to become a friend if she's cussing people out, if she's breaking the law, if she's doing things that are not appropriate. No, I'm probably not going to go and become her homeboy, her bestie. But on the same token, in that moment when we're crossing each other, I still have a responsibility. I don't care if she's devaluing others. My job as a human being, let alone a Christian, is to show her value. Watch this, especially in how I carry myself around her. See, when it's all said and done, I don't agree with everything in the Black Lives Matter. I don't even disagree that Blue Lives Matter. I really don't. I'm not for the LGBTQ community in terms of their philosophy, lifestyle choices, but the people in that community, the individuals, matter to me. And yes, I have them in my community. They go to my gym. They live across the street from me. They're in my community. They go to the same grocery stores. They work at the grocery stores and Walmart and places that I go to shop. Sometimes they're the ones cooking my food. They cut my son's hair. They sell me my produce. And while I am not an advocate for their philosophy of life, their ideology, I still value them as human beings. Do you understand what I'm saying? I show them value. Now, I don't give rise to their lifestyle choices. I don't applaud. Oh, you guys look like a loving couple. 2 men, 2 women. I don't do it, and I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it ever. And yet, I would never speak a word of disrespect to their person. I will not behave in a disrespectful manner, even if it's 2 women hugging each other, standing right in front of me, and clearly not in a friendly way. I still will not devalue them, even though they are demonstrating something that I myself am not in agreement with, not even a little bit. This could be a slightly better place to live if we just took a minute to give value to others by showing them human kindness, by showing them human respect. A man a long time ago, and I'm almost done, he said in a writing, we hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women have been created equal. There you have it. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men have been created equal. Thank you, Mr. Abraham Lincoln. And for his efforts, the back of his head was blown off. You know why? Because he stood against the mistreatment of people who look like me. The Emancipation Proclamation. He stood against those who thought that I, somebody who looked like me and my ancestors, should not be valued beyond being property. JFK had his head, pieces of his head blown off, sprayed across his wife, Jackie, and all over that convertible because he seemed to like black people. His brother was shot and killed because he seemed to like black people. Should I go on? I mean, do you get the point? Do you get the point? People are getting death threats because they think somebody like me is worthy of value. And they don't even know me. They think just because my skin tone is brown, technically, but black, in terms of community, that I should be respected. I imagine I have a few of those people on my Facebook page and maybe even follow me on YouTube. To you, I say, thank you. I don't know what price you're going to pay for valuing somebody who looks like me. I don't know. Sometimes those who are white, who value black people, and who are willing to step up and say it, get mistreated worse than black people. Because they're willing to tell their white community that black people are worthy to be respected. Sometimes if a man stands up for women's rights, he gets mistreated worse than the woman by other men because he's willing to step up and say that woman is, or those women are worthy of respect. Sometimes people who advocate for children find themselves being treated worse than the children because they're willing to advocate for children. They're willing to go to bat for those who often don't have their own voice. We're going to talk about that next week. I'm done. But I wanted to lay this foundation. We have got to value one another. Next week and the following week, we're going to discuss this topic. I promised I would give it to you. I'm just going to read it. I'm not going to go deep into it. I want you to be contemplating it, maybe even contribute. Next week, September, will be September 9th. Excuse me, not September 9th, it'll be September 2nd. September 2nd, if I'm not mistaken. And we're going to discuss sexual deviance, part 1, community secrets, and child suffering. Sexual deviance, part 1, community secrets, and child suffering. I won't read my write-up. And then the following week, which will be the 9th, we're going to deal with part 2, sexual deviance, part 2, community secrets and adults living with painful pasts. Sexual deviance, part 2, community secrets and adults living with painful pasts. I'm giving you that now because I want you to think about what I've laid down in this broadcast. Do we devalue or we value others? Do we truly value others? And if we value others, we've got to ask ourselves this question. Are we potentially maintaining secrets that are showing devaluement to those who have been abused? I told you it's going to be heavy, but join me. It's going to be helpful. Till next week, I pray this has been a blessing to you. Share this out. Get this before people. If you're on YouTube, Send it in a text message, send it on a Facebook message, post it on your Facebook page. Get this out to as many people as you can. See you next week.